All right, so let's take a look. Let's show everybody what you had and what you showed me, and then let's talk about the staging that, the ideas that I had for you. So Here we go.
What are you doing here?
I'm your personal maid. Leave Exchange sent me.
That's another mistake they made. Get out!
Great. So there's a lot of good stuff in here, and when I first initially saw it, I thought there's some things that we can work on, but the very first thing that I thought was the composition. So let's talk about the composition real quick, because and I'm not sure if I go into it because this is about composition and scenes and settings and cameras and stuff. But it is, I guess, one of the 12 principles of staging. And one of the first things I look at is how you stage the scene and how you can stage it for better give power to the character. I always like to think that the camera is a character in itself. So the camera can really enhance whatever feeling you want in the scene, depending on how you place it, depending on the composition. So let's talk about what you have. And let's take a look at what you did here and why I gave you some. Divide this shot into a half. You'll see that each character shares the same type of half of the scene. So you'll see that this character shares this one, and this character shares this one. So they first both equally are sharing the same type of space in the composition. So that does say something about it, and we'll talk about what it actually says. The other one is he is actually facing this way, which is okay, it's fine. But him facing the same direction as the woman that he's looking at, it does say something. It's all about body language, and I've always talked about body language, how important it is. And body language is key to every emotional state of your character. Again, the audience listens with their eyes, not with their ears. So when you pause at any moment, you should be able to see what's going on. So if I look at this image here, if I look at this image and I would guess what's happening, he almost looks like a pouty little kid that didn't get his way, and this is somebody trying to give him a treat and trying to keep him happy, but he's kind of grumpy. But at the same time, he wants the attention because his body language is facing her. So in Marcelo's scenario, when I was reading the bio, it said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marcelo, but the background of this grumpy old man is that he doesn't want anything to do with anything anymore. He's tired of everything, and he just wants to shut the world out. Right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So he wants to shut the world out. So if he wants to shut the world out, the first thing I would do is face him the other way. So I would actually face him this way. So as soon as you do that, now you're changing the body language. Now you're showing that he really does want nothing, and now he's giving his back to her some way. And we can definitely even push this even more. I mean, we can even have him, something like this, or grabbing his knees or something, whatever. Like it can be however you want, but now he is facing the other way. So that is telling us that he's putting his back to the world. So that's one thing that you could do to empower that feeling. The other thing is who has the upper hand in a scene. So if I showed you here before, we showed you that in the scene, it's equally balanced right now. You're giving equal power to each character. But with two people in the scene, you can break that up. If this guy comes off as really strong and powerful, even though he's grumpy, so I would definitely give him more power. So instead, what I would do is, instead of sharing it in half, I would share it like this. So maybe he would be here, and maybe he's grumpy and he's facing this way. And then she's here trying to be all nice, but she's in that edge. So now you're giving her very little room for her scene. So now you're empowering, you're taking power away from her. And then status-wise, the height as well can give you power. So you can have the camera where it favors him. So he can be really high on the scene here, and then she can be really low here. So now, not only he has the power, he's also taller in the scene, and he's also taking over the actual scene, and he's facing away from her. So it already tells you a lot of things going on there. That's why bosses sometimes have a higher chair, because they want to be above everybody. It's a whole body language, scheme. So this is what and I think Marcelo did a great job on these images, even though we haven't talked about them yet. But he did these type of images, and let's go through them. So this is a staging that we were talking about. Now this is a much better scene, and it works better because one, you already gave him a higher stance than her. Now she's way smaller because of composition. She's not only smaller, but she's also lower in the scene. And acting wise, you know who the main role of the character of the scene is, which is him. So I think this is a way to go. You did another one, which is this one. This one's pretty good, but it feels very flat because there's nothing in the environment. It feels very flat, so it feels a little weird. And then this is the original, and you can see how, even though you can see some perspective, it also feels flat. And the reason why it feels flat is because the characters have the same dynamic, the same sharing, the same perspective, everything. So I think this one is definitely the way to go. I think this one's a great job. I think you did great on this one. I think I would pick this one.
Right.
To enhance this one even further, sorry, that drawing that you saw, we were planning on our CTN, CGTarian thing
Yes.
this coming weekend. But anyways, what you could do is actually, you could also move him even closer to the scene. So you can even move him here. And then this way, he's shutting the world. He's cornering himself in a way, which will tell you that he wants to shut the world behind him even more. So by putting more negative space behind him, it tells you that he's shutting the entire world behind him. So if you put more space here, it's showing that you're putting more empty space in front of him. So you're putting the world, most of the world, in front of him, which is the opposite. You want to put the world behind him. You want him to be very negative. Hey Tommy, how are you? I'm glad you can make it. So this works much better. So this composition, I think, works fantastic. So I want you to go with this. So yes, you have to reblock because perspective's changing, everything's changing.
Yes, of course.
But I guarantee you it's going to make it a much stronger scene right off the bat.